Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the third webinar in CURC's 2026 webinar series. Um, we appreciate all of you taking the time to be with us this afternoon. Today's presentation topic is waste diversion and reduction in athletics, and we're excited to be with you today. My name is Al Motel. I'm the manager of waste recycling at Villanova University and a member of the CURC board. For those of you not familiar with CURC, we are a community of zero waste champions in higher education. We are a free, member-based organization that works towards waste reduction, diversion, and sustainable materials management through information sharing, educational support, and networking opportunities between staff, faculty, and students. Today's session is part of our free CURC webinar series that runs 5 times throughout the year. There are 2 more remaining webinars in our 2026 series. First, we have a few housekeeping notes to go over. If you have problems with your audio or video during the webinar, you can visit Zoom's Support Center by visiting support.zoom.us. To avoid background noise, we've placed all but our panelists' microphones on mute. During the session, we also encourage you to submit questions at any time by using the Q&A section to type us a note, and we'll try to get to as many of these as possible at the end of each presentation. For general comments or notes, please feel free to use the chat function in the dashboard. Copies of today's presentation slides will be available to download, and the full recording will be available to stream on the CURC website, www.curc3r.org. I want to take a moment to highlight and encourage folks to join the Recycle Listserv. This is a great resource that covers all sorts of topics related to recycling and waste reduction programs at college and university campuses, as well as related topics of interest to persons responsible for planning and implementing such programs. Subscription to Recycle is free and open to anyone. To subscribe, please use the link shown in the slide, which our tech support team will drop into the chat as well. After clicking the Sign Up for Recycle Google group, you'll see a button which reads Asks to Join Group. Once you complete this, you'll be able to post and respond to messages, as well as receive emails with messages from the listserv. Today's webinar was sponsored by WATTS. WATTS is an acronym that stands for Waste Administration and Tracking Software. WATTS is a software platform that transforms waste into a transparent, trackable utility by eliminating the chaos of manual waste data management. WATTS automates data collection across multiple sites for clear reporting and real-time visibility, turning waste data from a compliance task into a continuous driver of cost savings and waste reduction. Today, Laura Rosenshine from WATTS will be giving a more in-depth presentation at the end of the webinar, so please do stay on after our Q&A to hear from her directly. Now to the topic at hand. At some point, I think we have all experienced the challenge of advancing waste diversion and reduction in high traffic, high visibility settings like athletics operations. Between managing the complexities of large events, engaging diverse stakeholders, and turning sustainability goals into action on game day, it could be easy to feel frustrated. Our expert presenters today are here to share insights and strategies for leveraging athletics as a platform to drive waste diversion and broader sustainability engagement. Up first, we will have Chad DeWitt, Sustainability Coordinator from the University of Virginia. Chad coordinates many waste programs on ground, such as Greens Games, Zero Waste Ambassadors, and Who's Reuse. He supports the Green Athletics and Waste Minimization student employee teams and assists with broad student engagement at zero waste events. Chad graduated from the University of Georgia with degrees in sociology and economics and enjoys running outside, yoga, and cooking with local ingredients. Second, we will hear from Meredith Lady from the Ohio State University. Meredith is the Resource Stewardship Coordinator within the Department of Athletics at Ohio State University. Meredith joined the team in January and leads sustainability initiatives with the Department of Athletics and now manages the Zero Waste program at Ohio Stadium. Thank you to all of our presenters for joining our webinar today. Okay, now, Chad, we're going to transition to yours. So if you want to try sharing your screen.
I just had to request access. There we go. Okay. Hey, everyone. Thanks for spending part of your afternoon with us. Like Al said, my name is Chad. I'm the Student Outreach and Engagement Coordinator at UVA's Office for Sustainability. I've been in this role for almost 2 years, and so I'm excited to share a snapshot of what we've been able to do in the past 2 years and the progress of like 10 years of waste diversion in athletics. We use the term green games to refer to any athletic event where students are present to sort through compostable waste. They've been going since 2014 when students went to one game a season and made it a green game. And that has expanded recently. And for the last 4 years, we've been able to make every home football game a green game, as well as basketball games, men's and women's soccer, men's and women's lacrosse games, and baseball games. The three components of green games are that we have students sorting waste during the games. Afterward, we sweep through the seating areas to collect recyclables and compostables. And we see green games as a great access point for new students to engage with the Office for Sustainability, since it's just a one-time commitment and no prior experience is necessary. So we see new volunteers at every game each fall. This past academic year, we were able to have over 40 green games across athletics. The leaders of this initiative are our three Green Athletics student employees. Stephen, Margaret, and Lauren were our three this past year. They are undergraduate students who take the lead on volunteer recruitment and all the in-game operations. They report to me and the rest of the Office for Sustainability staff. And as a team, we all collectively work closely with the athletic department, the UVA Dine team, UVA Recycling, and Black Bear Composting. Here's a quick summary of this past fall. For our 7 home football games, we were able to recycle and compost 129,000 pounds of material for a 61% diversion rate, which is up from 56% last year and about 50% the year before. We did this with the help of 87 different student volunteers, including 20 Office for Sustainability student employees who worked multiple games. Here's some more information about the breakdown of last year's waste that we collected and a look at the bins, which really have allowed us to scale our green athletics program over the past couple of years. Around 4 years ago, the athletic department came to our office and was excited about designing a 3-bin waste system. And now these are in all of our outdoor athletic venues. So we have about 120 of these in Scott Stadium, our football stadium, and then about a dozen in the soccer lacrosse stadium and the baseball park. We are very thankful to have compost bins in all of these venues. However, these bins are not without their own challenges. We only can compost if students come to an event. So we're missing opportunities at some of the baseball games, softball games, and track meets right now. The compost bin is just lined with a black trash bag, but it represents an opportunity for us to continue to expand. We also candidly don't love the design of the bins. The athletics team really wanted UVA brand colors, which don't match our general waste infrastructure standards and colors you can find across the rest of campus. And one other challenge is that they're slanted at the top. So you can kind of see in this photo, but they slant backward. And so you can't really rest anything on top of the bins. When they overflow, trash can kind of pile up and be scattered all around the bins instead of just on top. And this can add work for the custodial team. That being said, they allow us to work so many more games, and it's a great sign that sustainability is being considered by other departments at UVA. One other note I'll make about this is that the UVA recycling team sets up racks outside the stadium at popular tailgating areas. So we're able to collect a fair amount of cans and bottles from outside the stadium, and that those are included in this figure in the 110,000 pounds of recyclables. And the last note I'll make is that the recycling figure is an estimate by the UVA recycling team. They're not actually weighed, but the compost and landfill figures are weighed. So those are exact numbers. Right now, we're generally able to get 15 to 20 students at each game, which really helps us do this process efficiently. The two main ways we do this are through our student network. So we have 20 student employees who each work 2 of the games, And then we have around 50 students in what we call our sustainability leadership programs, who we ask to work at least one game a year. So that's a really helpful, consistent volunteer base. On top of that, we found a lot of success partnering with other student organizations. So generally, students are more comfortable and excited coming to volunteer if they can do it with their friends. And so having organizations come helps bring the energy for these 3 hour shifts. No experience is necessary to come to a green game. We have everyone gather outside the stadium around 90 minutes after kickoff. We do a quick orientation. We pass out gloves, trash pickers, and lanyards. And I included a little picture of what's on the back of our lanyards. We have a little cheat sheet for volunteers to reference in case they're not sure how to navigate the 3-bin waste system. And we like to pair volunteers up specifically so we can put first-time volunteers with more experienced students. So there's no awkward moment where someone feels lost or unsure of how to navigate this process. I like to show these emails, I think, as kind of a sign that um, the Green Games program has really grown and people see it as a great entry point into sustainability. These are old emails I got last fall from student leaders asking if their club could come volunteer at a Green Game. And I think it speaks to like how great of event planners our Green Athletic students are and like how strong the visibility of the program is. This is 10 years in the making, but I do think it's really cool that students are actively looking to get involved with our office. And another fun note is that one of the students on the club running team who came to volunteer will be joining our student employee team this fall, and in his application referenced his positive experience at Green Games. So during the game, like I mentioned, we pair up volunteers, which we think helps with the overall volunteer experience. We give them either a recycling bag or a composting bag and trash pickers to go around the concourse. Some volunteers choose to sort material into their own bag, which is helpful if it's compost so that we can just quickly put it in the bins and mark it as sorted. But some volunteers also choose to sort just within the 3-bin system that's already there. And we do this to minimize contamination in the recycling bags, which reduces the work for the UVA recycling team the day after the game. And it also helps us capture divertible material that's in the landfill bins before we have to send it off. While this is all happening, the contracted custodial team is going around the stadium pulling bags as they fill up and bringing them back to one of 2 waste tents. You can see what the waste tents start to look like in the middle of the game. They are definitely full by the end of the game. And you can't see compost bags in this picture, but generally they're on the right side of the tent. And from there, we can just grab them and sort out any contaminants before they go to Black Bear, which is our composting partner. Here's a picture of that process. So we tend to have at least 3 people back at the tent to sort through the compost bags as they're brought to the tent. In that bottom photo on the left, you can see a custodial team member bringing the bags to the tent. And so we're often able to just have them pass us any compost bags so that we can quickly check for contaminants. Our composting partner won't take the bags unless someone has sorted through them. So it's very important that we have volunteers who are willing to sort through every bag. And generally we fill up between 20 and 25 totes at each game, which is great. Sometimes we're doing this for like an hour and a half after the game ends, so it can be a pretty tedious process. And another thing that we piloted last fall was repeating this process with black bags. So on the right, you can see a chart that I made because I was curious to learn how much divertible waste we don't capture simply because it's placed in a black bag and tied up. So for a couple different games, we would weigh a bag, open it up, pull out anything that we could recycle or compost, and then weigh it again. And you can see that generally between 70 and 80% of the waste inside could be recycled or compost, which reveals a really big opportunity for us to increase our diversion rate. One observation from that is, especially at the beginning of the game, a lot of the waste comes from the back of house. So there's another opportunity for us to do better communication with the concession staff and make sure we provide them all the information and resources that they need to divert their waste instead of just tossing it all in the same bag. Again, after the game ends, we call it sweeping the bowl, but we send students with compost and recycling bags around the seating area on the lower level, specifically in our football stadium. And at the same time, the athletics team is paying student organizations to do the same thing and coordinating with the custodial team. So, another opportunity we think for us is to have the student organizations come report directly to us so that we can give them instructions on what to do and coordinate all that waste bringing like within our system so that we can give good instructions. One exciting thing to note is that our student program has a small sponsorship. So GFL Environmental has sponsored the Green Athletics program for the past 3 years and given us a $6,000 check each season for diverting more waste than the previous year. And it's a fun moment at the end of the season. And for the last game, our Green Athletics students are able to go down onto the field and celebrate and receive one of those large checks, which is like a very exciting morale booster, I think, and also a great opportunity for us to share with a very large audience what we are able to do. But this is specifically about football, but we have applied what we've learned for 10 years of football games to other sports. So in our basketball arena, we use a very similar process for 5 to 8 games each year with a slightly smaller volunteer base, probably like 5 to 15 volunteers at each game. This is the one athletics venue that doesn't have those 3 bin systems. So we have to bring in compost bins to do this. And that's why we're only able to do a few games each season because the venue is used for concerts and other big events. And so usually we have to bring everything out if an outside event is coming in. And then for the past 2 years, we've been able to send a couple student employees to every single men's and women's soccer and men's and women's lacrosse game to collect compost. We use a kind of similar process, just way scaled down. I think generally we're able to collect about 1,000 pounds of compost each season. So small wins, but the kind of main reason we do this is because it allows us to build bridges with the athletic department and also the concession stand employees. Because it's way less busy, we're able to talk to the concession stand employees and get a little bit of like a sneak peek of what's going on back there. And our students generally have done a great job building relationships with the staff. Some of them are like known by name with the staff, which is great. At one of the basketball games, a concessions team member specifically saved a cheesecake to bring to our student volunteers, which was really sweet. So while the like, total impact is a lot smaller, I think it's good practice communicating with different stakeholders for our students. And then wrapping up, looking ahead, I put 3 goals for this upcoming fall. So we want to expand composting in the back of house spaces and even start trying to donate food whenever possible. Right now, we just focus on trying to capture as much food as possible to compost, but oftentimes, especially in the catered box suite area, that food is still totally edible, and it would be great to figure out how we could donate to community partners. A second goal is to continue to grow our volunteer base so that we have more people who can dig through the landfill bags, like I talked about, and get our diversion rate up. And finally, expand the Green Athletics program to baseball and softball games. Those are kind of the last 2 sports that we haven't touched, and continue building relationships with the concession stand and think about food donation pilots in the smaller venues. That's everything I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chad. It's great to learn about the successes and impact that you're having over there, and it's also great to see the momentum you have, continual growth and improvement over time. So, thank you for sharing. Uh, just a little reminder to everyone to put your questions in the Q&A section. After the second presenter, we will go through some of these questions and get you answers to them. But thanks again, Chad. Appreciate you sharing your story. Next up, we have Meredith Lately from The Ohio State University, and she's going to talk a little bit about their waste diversion in athletics on campus.
All right. See my screen all well? Perfect. All right, so just to introduce myself a little bit again, I'm Meredith Laidley. I started in January here at Ohio State as the Resource Stewardship Coordinator in Athletics and Business Advancement. I also work closely with our campus-wide sustainability team within Facilities Operations and Development here. I started in January, so I'm fairly new, but I do oversee sustainability initiatives across athletics. And a core part of my position is our Zero Waste at Ohio Stadium football program that I'll be discussing today. So just a quick glance at Ohio State. Our size is very large, so we create a lot of waste. We have 67,000 students, 41,000 employees, a lot of buildings, 6 campuses, 18 colleges, a lot of hospitals, and this leads us to over 24,000 tons of waste every year. And obviously, athletics is a very large part of that as well. So, as a university, we are committed to achieving zero waste by diverting 90% of materials away from landfills through recycling, composting, reuse, and waste prevention initiatives. At the stadium specifically, there's kind of been a long process to get to where we are today and the program that we have. So before in 2011, different diversion strategies were piloted, focused primarily on recycling. And in 2011, that the program Zero Waste at Ohio Stadium was officially launched between athletics and university sustainability. In 2012, our first zero waste game happened against Purdue, achieving a 94.4% diversion rate. And in 2012, we were awarded our first Play to Zero award by the Green Sports Alliance, which we've won ever since. And this year as well, it's been our 15th year as the Big Ten Conference Diversion Rate Champions in the Game Day Challenge, and are awarded $50,000 in 2024 by Ohio EPA to increase our diversion and other operations. Across our other venues as well, there's been about 20 zero waste events, including concerts, hockey, and basketball games. So our scope is expanding outside of the stadium as well. We have some good momentum to keep our operations going as well. So with our Zero Waste at the Stadium program, it's important to Ohio State to support zero waste in these athletic events because for many people coming to our campus, the athletic events are the gateway to the rest of our campus. So making our large events sustainable and our large venues sustainable is important because of the educational experiences it can bring our athletes, our students, and our fans. On average, over 100,000 people, roughly 110,000 people, attend each home football game at Ohio Stadium. We are the largest stadium to be zero waste for football in the country. So there's challenges with scale. And with that comes an average of 15 tons of waste generated inside the stadium on each game day. And that's not including any of the tailgate areas. So with all of this, we strive to divert at least 90% of waste generated in the stadium from landfills for each home football game. So achieving this zero waste status requires a lot of collaboration with a lot of different parts of our organization, parts of our operations team, our vendors, and our any other people supporting the program. As you can see in this picture, there's a lot of different players here. One of our examples of this is our concessionaire Levy Restaurants. And a lot of our early support in the program came from them with them choosing to switch to compostable and recyclable packaging wherever possible to help us divert as much initially with the products that they're sourcing. We also have a good relationship with our solid waste authorities, getting all of that, everything we need since we are in a county with flow control and hauling outside of the county for our operations. So when we think about our waste reduction planning, the pre-event planning looks a lot like contracts, working with vendors and anticipating all of the materials that will come into event, and if any of those are changing from year to year, how those materials will flow through the event space. We have a very big stadium. It's very old as well, so there are a lot of challenges with space, where to store things, where to store trash. So thinking through a lot of those challenges, identifying any signage or training needs for any of our concessions partners or any of our staff, working with waste, any disposal sites, any of our material consolidation sites, just understanding contamination thresholds allowed by our material processors, as well as part of our pre-event planning process. During the event, we're looking at all food prep areas and making sure that our signage is posted. That informs our concessions partners and any of our staff of where our materials are expected to end up, and any of those collection containers that are supposed to be in any areas that we have them, that they're actually there and people are using them. We do some bin guarding with students out in the concourse too, to educate fans and also do a little bit of a pre-sort of our material as well. Post-event, we obtain data from our supporters of this program, review our performance, address any unexpected issues, like if there are materials that we didn't expect making its way into the waste stream, finding out where those came from and working with the appropriate piece of the puzzle to make sure that that doesn't happen for our next game. We're always looking to see how we can improve on any of our future events and discussing our outcomes with our processors and making sure materials were still below those contamination thresholds that we're looking for. With this, we do a lot of work with designing out waste, like I talked about with our concessionaire. So we work with our vendors to examine the products that we purchase and that are consumed by fans, and designing them intentionally to be reusable, recyclable, compostable, wherever possible. So we're looking for products that can be used multiple times rather than just one, and eliminating any of the unnecessary plastic. So Levy Restaurants, our concessionaire, verifies their product changes with us and provides the materials that they're going to purchase for the upcoming football season to us, which is approved by me or another member of the Zero Waste team, to make sure that that product that they're introducing can either be composted, recycled, or if there's another option besides landfill that we can pursue as an outlet for it. One example of our success with reuse and reducing landfill waste is the fan cup that was redesigned a couple years ago. So you can see a picture of our old cup that had a straw in it, and our new cup doesn't. This was important to us, as if you think about how many straws that were used by our fans during a home football game when we have roughly 100,000 people come into the stadium any day. That's a lot of straws, which are tiny pieces of plastic that can't be recycled and can also easily escape the waste management system we have to become litter, or also make it into our compost and contaminate it. So this has been a great success with Levy switching to this option. This cup can be used multiple times at the freestyle machines in our concourse, so it's bottomless beverages for fans. They don't need a second cup if they're refilling their cup. And it's also been a perk of fans. They've enjoyed being able to kind of collect the different players on each cup or any of the coaches that we have. So it's been a successful initiative. And if they don't end up keeping it, it's also recyclable as well. Another part of our plan for zero waste at such a large venue is mapping our waste stream. So we have a lot of things going on across the stadium, our pre-consumer compost with our concessions and our kitchens, all of our waste barrels out in the concourse, and the different teams that manage them, compost and recycling and trash in our premium areas, as well as areas where the athletes are in the trainer rooms and the bathroom waste. So we have a map of where things are going and understanding which team is responsible for managing all parts of this system. So we have a pretty unique system in our main concourse where most fans are. So we have a two-stream system with color-coded bins to collect recycling and compost. We just have recycling and compost in the vast majority of our waste stations across the stadium. And our signage is color-coded, make it as easy as possible. We have approximately 75 of these shown in the picture on the right throughout the stadium. And one of the important parts of our role as a zero waste team is to make sure that the liners are correct. There are different liners for compost and recycling, and making sure that the signage is facing the correct way before the event, making sure there's no waste in there before the event that shouldn't be in there from any of the normal operations of the stadium, and making sure we have enough liners throughout the um, stadium as well for changing the bags during the game. We also have different signage. We have a cheat sheet similar to Chad's that shows where each of our products go. And with our two-stream system with recycling and compost, our phrase there is when in doubt, recycle. Um, but we have pictures of which items can go in which stream for our staff and our students to help with. And then we also have some front of house signage for guests as well, so they can know where to recycle and compost the different items. And a unique part of our stadium, the club spaces, this is that $50,000 Ohio Environmental Protection Grant that we got in 2024. We used that to upgrade our 20 zero waste stations in the premium areas of the stadium to have 3 streams. And this helped us expand zero waste to events occurring outside of the game days and building it into everyday operations. So there are a lot of private events and special events in areas of the stadium, like just daily. And with this 3-bin system, we're able to divert more material with these bins. They do have a trash stream in these spaces since they have a different mix of materials that are more likely to be landfill than our other parts of the stadium. So that's why we still choose to have trash here. But having this 3-bin system in place reduces the contamination and increases our material capture during game day, as well as non-game day events that our stadium hosts a lot of. So when we're thinking about our zero waste team, keeping our bins properly sorted is not an easy task during our games. So one of the organizations we work with who helps make this possible is called Lifesavers. On game days, we work with them to have students from Columbus who are from challenging home environments serve as zero waste educators to teach fans about proper recycling and composting at the bins, and also to correct any cross contamination at their zero waste stations. So postseason surveys of this group have shown that working with Ohio State's game day football operations and our zero waste team have increased their educational attainment aspirations among the students that participated. And last season, we had over 40 high schoolers participate and gave out over $17,000 in scholarships for those students. We also have student interns that are Ohio State students who serve a similar role as well by pre-sorting the material at bins and engaging with fans. And they also help us engage with our concessions partners more independently and make sure that everyone's on the same page for where their waste goes at the end of the game. With our engagement piece as well, we have announcements, scoreboard advertisements, and some tabling and station-based interactions for zero waste. And our team, our student intern team, interacts with our concessions or vendors and operations teams before each season, game, and event about zero waste expectations, as well as any post-event reporting to address any issues that came up during the last game in preparation for the next. So when we're looking at one of our waste streams of back of house food waste, our concessionaire Levy has done a great job of training their vendors and their staff of our zero waste expectations. So they know that it's expected that zero waste is embedded into their operations on game days in the concession stands. So they are responsible for taking their waste down to the designated waste area at the end of the game. And the food waste is either donated or placed in a brown toter. Our team checks for contamination for those toters, any plastic or things like that, and zip ties them to make sure nothing else ends up in there. At the end of the third quarter, all the cardboard's compacted and all the other waste is taken to the dumpsters. And then donatable food is brought to a centralized location and donated via Stowe Mission here in Columbus, and Levy manages that as well. And then here's just a picture of what our centralized waste station looks like at the stadium. You can see some of our signage as well that is informing our staff and our vendors of where things go, like our cardboard, our food waste, our recycling, and what is allowed in our brown toters for compost, since there is no plastic or any other materials allowed in those containers. So when we think about our post-game cleanup, each game, almost half of the game day materials that are generated are left in the stands. So to aid in diverting those materials, we work with Ohio State's Naval Reserve Officers Training Corps and our NOROTC program. And our stadium operations team is in the concourse emptying waste stations and collecting bags from this group as they're sorting them as they move through the stadium bowl. And they are loading trucks with our post-consumer material. There are 2 trucks we have for recycling and 1 for compost. And throughout all this process, grants and different collaborations have helped fund our infrastructure and organizational improvements throughout the course of this program. There's just some pictures of kind of the volume of material that we'll get after a game, and it's just recycling. So just thinking about our food waste again, our pre-consumer food waste, those brown toters that I showed with low levels of contamination goes to Price Farms Organics in Delaware, Ohio. Our compostables with moderate high contamination goes to Ohio Department of Rehabilitation's Correction and Ohio Penal Industries. And then our bulk food is donated to the Stowe Mission in Columbus to be distributed out to the community. So once the stadium is clean and the bags of recycling and post-consumer compost are sent to Ohio Department of Rehabilitations and Corrections and Ohio Penal Industries, they are sent to to them, and they operate a recycling sorting program and a Class 2 compost facility in London, Ohio, as a workforce and reentry program for incarcerated individuals. Our collaboration with ODRC and OPI is focused on sustainability, education, rehabilitation. Through this collaboration, Ohio State football game day recycling is sorted and organic waste is composted at the facility while participants earn $11 per hour state minimum wage with increased overtime wage rates where applicable. And they're able to learn several trade skills and can earn composting certifications through our university's College of Food, Agriculture, and Environmental Sciences, and additional training through Ohio State Extension. In addition to this, they're able to earn credit towards early release through their participation. But this participation in this part of the program is entirely voluntary on the part of the incarcerated individuals, and all PPE is provided, including gloves, aprons, steel-toed boots, and any weather gear that they may need. So just some statistics from the 2024 season. We're updating this currently from our last football season, but Ohio Penal Industries helped Ohio State achieve our average 93.4% diversion rate at Ohio Stadium during our home football season. Their team helped us sort 280,000 pounds of waste and diverting over 130 tons from landfills. So Ohio State, ODRC, and OPI all take pride in this program that helps us maintain zero waste at our football games. And just to break down our diversion rate a little bit more, so from 2025, we had diverted 158,000 pounds of recycling and 98,000 pounds of compost from the landfill, which is around 130 tons. We generated around 20,000 pounds of material that could not be diverted from the landfill. And the stadium had around 730,000 fans that generated over 277,000 pounds of waste total, or 138 tons. And then just looking at zero waste over the years, just looking at our diversion rate over the past few years, we ended at 93% average last season. And we're hoping to continue maintaining that momentum that the program has maintained for such a long time. And then just to highlight some of the current projects that we have, as I've started my role, we're looking to embed zero waste into other facility operations. Our stadium hosts concerts this summer. We've had 2 so far and have 2 more concerts. And with those, they have different materials mixes than our football games. So we're looking for solutions there to capture as much material as possible and divert it through operational change as well. So that's been a focus of us this summer. We're looking at expanding composting recycling initiatives to more facilities, standardizing our waste infrastructure across our facilities so that we have everything the same, makes it easy on our fans, updating our signage, and piloting some hard to recycle material recovery and expanding on our food donation capabilities. We're also looking to expand our tailgate initiatives to capture some more of that material as well. And that's everything I have, and my email is there for any questions as well.
Thank you so much, Meredith. Very informative, and I just love the systems approach that the Ohio State's taking towards waste minimization and waste diversion. Um, we can go into the question and answer section now. A lot of great questions in the chat. So the first one was directed towards Chad, but it really could be towards both of you because Meredith, I did see a three bin system that you shared for your in your stadium. So who is the manufacturer of your stadium containers, if you can share?
I actually don't remember, but I'm happy to send you that answer.
Our three bins are Max R.
Thank you. The next question, does it become an issue where some students getting paid through the sustainability office and some are not getting paid and are just volunteers, but they're both doing the work during the game day event? Does that ever create a conflict or challenges?
It's something we definitely have been thinking about, and especially because we have this GFL environmental sponsorship that is paying our students, it totally would be possible to pay volunteers. The biggest hurdle we're experiencing is that our student financial service just makes it incredibly difficult to pay students. So if we were to give out any, like whether it's a gift card or a cash award, it has to be approved by student financial services, which takes a couple weeks. So we don't have a great solution for that right now, but it's definitely something we're thinking about, like trying to figure out how to compensate volunteers.
How about on your end, Meredith? Are there any conflicts between the paid and unpaid su support during the games?
Both our high school group, they received those scholarships I was talking about. So there is like financial incentive for their participation there. Their group manages like the distribution of that. Ohio State isn't involved in that part of it. But for the student, our student interns are paid kind of as like a game day labor cost built into the facilities budget of the stadium.
Great, thank you. Now I know Meredith, you had answered this question a good bit in your presentation, so I guess it could be more directed towards Chad, but feel free to chime in as well. But working with concession stands and vendors, how do you have you worked with them to upstream to change the items that are sourced, or taking steps proactively upstream to reduce waste before it's generated?
Yes. Meredith, the chart that was in her presentation laid it out very nicely, and our like procurement looks very similar. So the only items for sale at the concession stands that need to be landfilled, I believe, are chip bags and candy wrappers. Other than that, the concessions team has done a really good job eliminating things that need to be tossed to the landfill.
Our biggest product that we're trying to find a solution for is hot dog wrappers. We haven't found a good one that like maintains the product integrity on our concessionaire's part. So that's one of our holdups. But sourcing everything else so that is compostable and recyclable is important to us and our vendors. So helping us maintain that relationship and achieve the same goal has been big.
Thank you. There was a lot of surprise in the chat about the two stream system, Ohio State. Can you talk a little bit about that? There's questions as to, why no landfill or no trash bins put out during the game.
Yeah, so with the majority of our items, like it's really just the hot dog wrappers that are kind of like the main thing that are contaminating our stream of as landfill waste, but such a vast majority of our the rest of our waste is either recycle or compost that we just decided to do two bin system instead to reduce kind of confusion at the bin as well for our fans, so they can dispose of what they're throwing away So it's kind of a matter of like the volume of non-landfill material that we have is not um, significant enough to necessitate that third landfill bin in the vast majority of our stadium. But our club spaces are a little different, so that's kind of why we have it there with their different products that they have.
Great. Another question, does the recycling stream get sorted like the front of house stream? And what is the cleanliness? Can you describe the cleanliness of the two-stream program without having trash bins for utensils, straws, diapers, candy wrappers, and etc.?
Yeah, our utensils are all compostable, so those will be sorted out by ODRC and OPI. We actually don't have like a lot of utensils in like the main stadium part, just with the products that they're selling. But our recycling is all sorted as well, hand sorted by ODRC and OPI. So if there is materials that make it into the recycling stream, they're able to pull them out and put them in compost or landfill if it's something like a hot dog wrapper. So it is being sorted, and haven't experienced any um, issues with that contamination from that source.
Can you tell us what OPI is? Is that one of your vendors?
Yeah, so OPI, ODRC, Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections, and Ohio Penal Industries, that's where we send our post-consumer compost and our recycling to be hand sorted by incarcerated individuals to divert our material. So they have a class two compost facility in London, Ohio, where we haul our material to after games, and they sort it for a few weeks in that voluntary program, earning a wage from that as well in that program, if that helps clarify.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, Another question. We have a lot of great questions, so please forgive me if I don't choose your question, but we're going through these and just trying to share the airtime with both of our great presenters. Um, the let's see. This is a good one. What is the biggest challenge when presenting proposals to leadership to receive buy-in for new ideas? And can you explain the approval process briefly at your school?
I can go first. I think the challenge for us really when presenting new ideas is that we have to be able to do them on our own. So our athletic department is generally pretty supportive of giving us the green light when we ask like permission to do something. We just have to like have the time and people to do it during the game, which is tricky given like everything that we already are trying to do. And maybe a second answer, just because the specific challenge that we're seeing right now is trying to figure out how to donate food and just concerns around food safety laws and liability is really the biggest challenge. So I wish I had like the answer figured out. I'll have to check it in a few years, hopefully, and we'll have figured it out. But that is, I think, our biggest hurdle right now is navigating food safety laws.
I think here at Ohio State, I'm in a little bit of a unique position. I'm how like my position is housed within athletics. I report through athletics, so there is leadership buy-in for sustainability, just in athletics with my position and the initiatives I oversee. Kind of a similar philosophy though, and always looking at um, the cost of things, especially kind of in the NIL era, has not been lost on leadership or anything like that. And just kind of always advocating the efficiencies of it, like wasting less has been something that resonates with our leadership, and kind of getting other ideas off the ground and using our stadium as proof of like this works while we expand to other venues and other events in different spaces.
Awesome. Thank you. Now, there's one last question I wanted to ask only because it's a great segue into the next part of our webinar. But have you either of you experimented with different signage in the stadiums, or how did you get to where you are now with the signage you're using? Have you seen any direct positive impact during the changes of the different signage iterations, or reduced contamination from any specific type of signage?
I don't believe that we have changed the signage in the 4 years that we've had this three bin system in the stadium. It's been the same for those 4 years. Most of the experimenting we do with different signage is just around the rest of our campus where we have three bin systems. And so I think we just took what we've learned from experimenting and what we have put in our university's waste infrastructure standards and as closely matched it to athletics branding requirements as possible. So, like, we would generally not choose to do bright orange for compost, but the actual signage more or less mirrors what we would put on a compost sign in the middle of our campus. But no, we have not experimented with different signs inside the stadium over the last few years.
That's actually one of our ongoing projects right now is to update our signage. A lot of our current signage has like icons of the different items. We're looking to switch to match the rest of the university to have those more like realistic looking images of products, and we're looking to make the signage at each of our venues like venue specific for what the concession stand is selling at each of our venues, since they are different product mixes. So we're trying something out actually right now to get to that kind of end goal and hoping that it has a positive impact on our diversion rate to have some more clear, more forward signage that aligns with the rest of the university as well.
So thank you both so much. Thank you, Chad. Thank you, Meredith. Great presentations, and thank you to all of the attendees who joined today for the wonderful questions. Got a little bit more to go through, and then please stay on for a presentation from our sponsor today, Watts. Laura Rosenshine will be speaking a little bit about their offerings. As mentioned earlier, today's webinar is the third webinar in our CURC 2026 webinar series. Our next webinar for this year will be Developing Effective Waste Signage. So if you liked the answer to that last question, or you want to learn more about how you can possibly develop more effective waste signage, please tune in to our next webinar on September 17th. Registration for that event will be coming out soon. Our other webinar topics this year are the other webinar topic this year is specialty recycling streams in November. That'll close out the series for 2026. We're actively seeking presenters for these topics. So if you or your school or colleagues are doing something cool around these ideas, please let us know by filling out our speaker interest form located on our website. That will be dropped into the chat as well. And for more information on upcoming webinars, presentation opportunities, and webinar recordings from today or past webinars, stay tuned via our newsletters and our new website. As we continue our 2026 webinar series, we are also still seeking sponsors to help make it possible. This is a great opportunity to connect your brand with a highly engaged higher ed sustainability audience. And one last time, please join me in thanking Chad, Meredith for their time and participation today, and also our sponsor, Watts. We really appreciate everything that you've all shared. Please look for the presentation and a recording of the program on the CURC website, www.curc3r.org, within the next week or so, and enjoy the rest of your day. So now I will turn it over to Laura to share a little bit about what Watts is doing.
Great, thanks, Al. Can you see my screen? Great.
Yes.
Okay, thanks everyone for hanging out for a few more minutes. I'm going to run through this pretty quickly since some people might have a hard out here. WATS stands for Waste Administration and Tracking Software. Kind of short, we're transitioning to WATS as Waste Analytics Software. It's a better way to manage waste data. I'm going to take you through some of the concepts that we're seeing today. We all know that waste is important, but it's not necessarily treated like the utility that it is today. It's in your budget, you have vendors that you have to deal with for it, and you have to pay for it monthly, and it has infrastructure. But yet the data management is not treated exactly the same as energy and water. And so I'm going to talk about why that is. So the concept of waste data is unique, just like each utility. When we talk about waste data, we're not just talking about what our tonnage is. We're also talking about who are our vendors, Who's responsible for sorting, as Meredith showed? What are the costs associated with those waste streams, and what infrastructure is relevant for those waste streams? There's a whole lot of information that goes into these waste management programs that are run. So I'm just going to take you through a quick product overview of what we offer. And mostly what I'm seeking today is people who have thoughts and feedback, who are running day-to-day waste management program operations and would be willing to chat with me about feedback of tools that they're looking for that would make their jobs and lives easier. Okay, so our goal is to alleviate one of the key pain points that we hear is that the ingestion and digitization of waste data into a normalized format is really, really challenging. And so today we ingest waste data from various stakeholders in various formats. At the core of Watts, we know that that businesses have sites, and sites might have departments, and departments generate waste. And so Watts is both waste stream agnostic, which you're seeing on the left side of the screen, a little example of that, and also vendor agnostic. This is what allows us to roll up data across an entire operation so that waste management can be seen all through one lens. So to talk about data sources really quickly, one of the things that we think sets Watts apart is that we're not just ingesting invoices, we're also ingesting hauler tonnage reports, audit data, scale tickets, third-party data, proof of destruction, all of the data that would be relevant in order for you to have a holistic view of your waste management. This data can come from various sources for different waste streams. And so we're designed to kind of bring all this information in where you have it and not necessarily duplicate the counting of it, but tie these pieces together so that you can have confidence in your reporting. So we act as the waste meter, right? Making waste a metered utility. But we do that so that we can make the waste data usable. So to do that, we have 4 areas that we focus on. One is helping our users collect data from all these various sources. So we have automated tools for that. Digitizing the data, right? You just send us the data. We do all the digitization of it so that you can spend time in your normalized dashboard investigating the waste streams that you have questions or concerns about. And then also what we offer is, because we now have all the data in the platform, we can turn optimization opportunities back to our customers so that they can pick and choose what's the most applicable or relevant for them, where they want to spend their time and energy. Again, the goal is to move people from just data management into action. So I talked about this a little bit already, but the concept is that organizations have sites, sites might have subsites, sites have waste streams, and waste streams have data. This is the data model. All data is tied back to a particular waste stream. In terms of how we help automate data collection, we provide unique email addresses to all of our customers so that they can embed those email addresses into their vendor relationships, so that every time an invoice is sent or a hauler data report is sent, it immediately gets into our ingestion pipeline. This is what allows us to treat it more like a utility, getting data in and in front of you as real time as possible. What I'm showing on this screen is about file schedules. Because data is so hard to manage, who it's coming from, at what frequency, we've built a tool to digitize all of that important context. So the idea here is that you might have a vendor that's providing you invoices and tonnage reports for one or more sites, for one or more waste streams. All of this information is digitized in the platform. When we know who that vendor is and who that data provider is, we can now automate the collection of that data by sending them reminders if we don't get the data on schedule. Cool. This is just a quick preview of what it looks like, right? We're sending out emails on your behalf to say that we are requesting data. We are very specific about what data is missing because we're tracking all of that context. So we tell them exactly what files are missing, for exactly what date range, for exactly what sites, and for exactly which exactly which sites or subsites. Okay, so how do we do all of this? We built our own automated data ingestion tool. OCR stands for optical character recognition. What we're doing here is we are mapping towards a waste-specific data model. So these boxes of different colors indicate areas in the file that we are extracting data from automatically on your behalf. What we do really intensely is we both map a new vendor's format that we might see, but also we specifically map new site data that we see. Once we do intense mapping the first time around, the next time that we see the invoice or the hauler data next month, we're already mapped. We know what we're looking for, and this is what allows us to automate the ingestion. Now, even to date, we still have eyes on every document that goes into our system, but we're using tooling to help us draw attention to potential read errors. And so that's what allows us to do it much, much faster. This is just one example of automated data ingestion through an invoice. This same concept is applied to hauler data, manifests related to regulated waste. It can be applied to emails if we're looking for just a number inside of an email tied to diversion. So we make it really easy. So here's a quick preview of our dashboard. Basically, you're seeing key KPIs across the top of diversion rate, total weight, cost, emissions, and carbon savings. This is the playground. Because we've done all that hard work of aggregating for you and digitizing, this is where you can spend your time, and your team members can spend time depending on what they care about. If someone's really in charge of organics or e-waste, this is where they can drill into their own data and then help bring stakeholders together about opportunities. What you're not seeing on this screen, which I'm kind of cheating and showing you here, is that below all of this is a cost chart. At Watts, it's really important that we help our customers tie their tonnage by waste stream to their cost by waste stream. This is what allows us to help our stakeholders prove to their stakeholders that continuous investment into waste diversion programs is cost savings. It's really hard to do that when waste streams cost by ton are all over the place. Food donation programs might be free in some cases, and e-waste could be free in some cases, but your compost program might be more expensive than recycling. So all of those numbers and costs fluctuate across the country. And so it's important that this visibility is tied to the individual program, programmatic vendors and costs. This is a new screen that we're launching in the next couple of weeks. This is what will be our new homepage. This is what will allow our customers to get into a platform and know exactly where their attention needs to be drawn. Do they need to review files that have some missing data, right? This is where our users might have some context that we need to set up automations or to close gaps. You might be doing a survey, and so we're telling you that you have missed surveys. I'll explain that a little bit later. And then also we have insights. I'll get to those too. And we're drawing our users' attentions to the opportunities within their data or how to just build confidence in their data in a very easy manner. We also know that the waste data is just one piece of the puzzle when it comes to utility management. And so Watts sits often before the aggregation of data with other utilities, right? We help you get your data, clean your data, build confidence in your data before you combine it with your energy and water data. Or help you apply for certifications. So basically what we've done is we've just made it really easy for customers to get their data out of the platform if they need to combine them elsewhere or move it into a certification. The last thing we want after all the hard work of digitizing the data is to put people back in a place of copying and pasting. Okay, so we have a survey tool. Really quickly, this tool is really customizable. You can track one waste stream or all your waste streams. You can track one time or 1 week or 1 month, and we can extrapolate the data. Or you can track by weighing something or just counting a bag if we get an average bag weight, or applying industry standards, or tracking the fill level, right? How full are my compost bins? Am I utilizing all of that space properly? This is a tool that's being deployed by our customers in a variety of ways. Great. So to jump into insights, which is, really why we got into this to make it easier for people to take action. Our insights are tied to continuous data analysis. So we run our insights tool every 15 minutes, and what we're pulling out are all of the insights across a whole portfolio. This is where you can see different insights showing up at different cadences, But beyond that, we also then actually drill into what insights are happening at the specific site level, right? At the site level is where changes actually need to happen. And so it's really important that sites get really clear indicators of what their opportunities are. The last piece that I want to touch on is the importance of kind of QA, QC data of like building trust and confidence in your data. And so one of the ways that we do that is through data, additional data sources. So I talked about some data sources initially. What I'm showing you here is that from your data, we create waste management plans. This is a tool that can be shared amongst stakeholders to understand what infrastructure do I have where and where might I need to make changes. Rarely have we seen this information digitized so that someone can have this visibility across an entire operation. The next QA QC part is about data coverage. How it's really, really hard today for people to know when they're managing multiple sites and multiple waste streams where they have gotten data and where they have gaps in their data. And so we recently released this tool that makes it very clear for us to be able to tell you what your data coverage percentage is and where we're missing data. Because the data comes in at cadences that vary and often can be delayed. And so this often is something that's held in someone's head, which is really challenging. File status review. Okay, so we've ingested a piece of your data, but maybe we have a question about it. We can flag that for you, and then it gets surfaced on your action dashboard so that you can come in and quickly answer that question. You're helping train our tool, and you're helping close that gap and make that file go from needs review to fully processed. This is context that often our customers have that we don't have, but we make it really easy to kind of close that gap. Another QA/QC piece tied to costs is really about cost types. So on every invoice, on every line item, we're assigning each line item to a particular cost type. What I've done on the screen is I've highlighted ones that kind of stick out as problematic for people. Collection fees might be base prices, but contamination fees and labor fees and extra pickup fees and overage fees and push-pull fees are all things that add to the cost of your program that often it's hard to really have visibility into because oftentimes reporting is focused on tonnage and not necessarily always cost. And we're trying to bring those two together and make it super easy to find those opportunities to reduce the cost of your program. Last couple more slides and we'll wrap up here. But another piece that's really important is this concept of comparative data. Just by having your infrastructure and your collection schedule information, we can estimate your monthly weights by waste stream. That's what you're seeing on the right-hand side of my screen. What we do is we can use that data to compare it to the other data sources to find opportunities. You might have infrastructure that's telling you can collect 8 tons of trash a month, but your invoice is charging you for more than that. How is that possible? How could you be charged more for volume that you don't even have on site? We see this happen pretty often. Okay, so this is a quick visualization of what we're trying to do and what we think sets us apart. Yes, we can process invoices, but the value of comparing data is for business opportunities. It's for where am I seeing errors? Where am I seeing opportunities tied to audits and materials that might need to be changed out, like the hot dog wrappers that Meredith mentioned? Where do I not feel confident in my data? And I might want to run a small survey on that data in order to build my confidence in that or to argue against a line item I might see on my invoice. Great. So these are some top challenges we hear of today. Al, I'm good for another 2 minutes, right? Great.
Yep.
Wasted staff hours, chasing down vendor data, hard to just transcribe data across sites for reporting, unclear impact of your current waste program and what the data gaps are, manual review required to find billing errors, and then it's hard to identify insights and opportunities. And so I tried to cover a bunch of different features today that tackle these top challenges that we hear about. If people have other challenges or thoughts on anything that I've shared today, I would really love to hear about it. I'll have a information on my contact information up in a second. And my last slide here is really about the journey, right? We're all in this because we care about waste reduction, we care about the environment. And Watts is trying to help people truly help their programs get and stay on their waste journey. No matter where you are on your waste journey, you can fit into Watts, but the concept is the same. In order to treat this like a utility and continuously optimize and improve, we have to go through these steps of mapping waste streams across all sites, understanding who our vendors are and our data sources, continuously looking at the data for opportunities, and then staying in that circle of optimization. That's where we want our customers to focus. And Watts can help manage the upstream part of that circle so that the focus can be on the optimization. So thanks to everyone for your time today. I would really love to chat with anyone that likes to talk trash and help us build tools that help support sustainability professionals in the waste management space. So you can see my email in the bottom left-hand corner or scan the code. I'm pretty sure it takes you to my scheduler. So thanks for inviting me today, Al, and thanks for the time, everyone.
Thank you, Laura. I love the QR code with the raccoon in the middle. It's a great touch. Thank you so much for sharing a lot of great info. And thank you once again to our presenters and all of the attendees. We look forward to seeing you again next time. Thank you so much. Have a great day, everybody.
Have a good day, everyone.